Really excited to welcome everyone today to our Executive Insights. Today, we want to expand your brand with personality-led marketing. Social media influencer marketing has been such a big thing in the world right now. No thanks to COVID. And you could imagine if you go back in time, I was just chatting with the panelists earlier on, how, well, everything started like this, the Tupperware parties. You get someone very familiar, someone who you resonate with, come into your home with all the Tupperwares. Thankfully, there's no COVID, so no safety measures that are needed. And just sharing their experiences with the product and then coming to the end of it, selling it. And through the years, even as we evolved in terms of the platforms we use, whether it's print, television, radio, things haven't quite changed. It's always centered with personalities. From that familiar voice over the phone to, hey, check that product out. It's a great deal you should look at. To the television shows, the demonstrations, and now social media, influencers, live streams, social commerce. It's always been anchored with personalities. But what technology, in particular social media, has re-enabled are the conversations between personalities and consumers. Just like we did during those Tupperware parties. It's no longer a monologue, but actually a dialogue that could happen virtually. Hence, it's no surprise that social media is one of the fastest growing digital channels today. In Singapore, more than half of Singaporeans are influenced by social media when they make a purchase decision. And 84% globally would actually make a purchase or try or recommend a product if a creator content is relevant and they see it. Industry-wide, we have seen how this has given 4 times lift on purchase conversions on average when compared to using regular ads alone. Which is why today we really would love to explore how we can expand your brand personality-led marketing through personality-led marketing. I'm delighted to have Neha, Diogo with me this morning. So Neha comes with more than 16 years of visual style and voice on designing visual style and voice for online platforms with notable names like Amazon. And today, if you look at her background, very on brand, very exciting, ZALORA. Neha, would you like to say hi to everyone?
Hi, thank you so much, Chris, for such a beautiful introduction. And I think what a good way to start the session, the Tupperware party, just reminds us of everything that influencer marketing had to offer then and now. And really look forward to this session. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Neha. And of course, many of you might be familiar, Diogo from Bloomr Social and Mediacorp, a strategist, a passionate storyteller herself, and mentoring next generation of content creators. Diogo, I'd love to say hi.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I'm here to focus on strategy, to focus on a little bit of the details that you need to make sure that your marketing is on point with influencers and everything else. So good to be here.
Yeah. Love to keep today's webinar, I know it's Executive Insight, it's supposed to be serious, but keep it casual. It's between the 3 of us. And if any of you who's listening on, you have any questions, all 100 over of you, just key it in the Q&A button and we'll pick it up as we move along. But as we start, let's do a poll. Has COVID-19 accelerated your marketing spend into social media or influencer marketing? It's a very simple yes or no. We just love to see where everybody is right now. So you should see a poll. Unfortunately, I can't participate in, and I'd love to hear from you.
I can press the button as well. I'm going to say
we
yes.
Can't.
Yeah.
They say host and panelists can't vote. Neha, can you?
No, I can't. I can't.
Otherwise, it would be an easy yes.
We're supposed to say yes, right? Let's give ourselves another 5 more seconds. And
we would have finished the session by now and we would have said done.
I love that. My boss wouldn't love that like that too much though. Nice. 84%. That's a lot of you right there. 84% said yes, you have spent more money on social media or influencer marketing. And in fact, that's very true. Drum did a survey recently, and 73% of marketers have thrown more resources, investments into influencer marketing, into personality-led marketing. Which leads us to the first question today. 2 years of COVID, things have changed. You have live streams and social commerce. TikTok is going big on social commerce with a lot of followers with them. Diogo and Neha, I'd love to find out from you, what do you think is the new norm for influencer marketing? Diogo?
I think you have a slide where I can go through a couple of ideas. Yeah, so what we've seen be accelerated in the past 2 years, and especially during COVID, is that your stream, your wall on social media now isn't just focused on your family, focused on your friends, and even the work-related relationships, but celebrities, influencers, brands, anything and everything that is posting on social media is blending into a direction where everyone's voice is now being judged on a daily basis. So one of the key aspects that we see in that influence being shared across different people is, of course, the type of different storytellers that are being integrated into those streams, right? Your KOLs, your thought leaders, your influencers, your celebrities. But what we're starting to see is not just the blend, but the deepening of the relationships between those celebrities and their audience, those influencers and the brands that are working with them, and especially the family connections and the friendship connections that were just focusing on your first circle of people around your life into now becoming direct relationships with your influencers, with the people you follow and the brands that you love. So another big thing that we've been tracking is how community building has completely shifted on social media. So in the pink selection, that's normal community building. When you want to create a community around the brand, when you want to create a community around just a topic that you love, there are simple things that you can always put into it, right? So it's your roles, it's your needs, the behaviors, how most people communicate amongst each other. But what we are starting to see with these communities being built on social, being built online, is that there's a lot more personal disclosure than there was before. People are revealing secrets, their lives, their moments, their important situations through, especially COVID, and depression and mental wellness was a big thing for the past 2 years. The social presence is becoming more and more important. A lot of brands, a lot of employers take a look at your social following. They make sure that you have a presence online so you can be a defender of those brands. And last but not least, of course, it's that deepening of what your profile is on social, how you present yourself on social, how you have that need for attention on social media, and how that is then represented amongst the types of relationships that you have in your streams as well. So I would think that what COVID has done specifically for influencers and the marketers that are working with influencers is strengthening the bonds between the two relationships. And even more so is making sure that the communities are not hoodwinked by that relationship that happens all the time. Last but not least, and this is basically my part for Neha afterwards, is the need for authenticity that happens across all of these content creators, all of these influencers, is becoming more and more instrumental for the relationship with the audience, with the brands, and the streams that we have of content on our social media accounts. That mindset of making sure that your message has quality, that you are credible in the space, and that you have that immediacy of message on a daily basis is becoming more and more instrumental to how we communicate, how we build the community, and how we deepen the relationships between ourselves on social media.
Yeah, in many ways, COVID really waken up that desire to get closer, be intimate, and be real, whether it's between consumers and consumers or brands and consumers. And Neha, I'd love to hear how that has been for ZALORA. Is that the same?
Yes, absolutely. I think even a lot what Diogo just mentioned, it's practically pretty much what we saw and what you covered in the first slide, right? 84% of the people, the purchase has increased because of this. So it is gone are those days when influencer marketing was simply about just endorsing a brand, right? When a Tupperware auntie would call you and say, okay, buy Tupperware. Now it is about literally how influencers integrate the brand or the products into their daily lives, right? Because the keywords are relatability and authenticity. You are looking at these influencers and you really believe in what they are pushing out there, or what they want the audiences to know, is because they are literally encouraging the behavior of the customers. And all of that comes with the trust, the credibility, and also their own personal style, and I think the belief that they have in this in the audience, right? And I think just on the business side of it, this influencer marketing, it shows impressive return of investment, maybe all in terms of just numbers, but also in terms of awareness, in terms of brand building. So it is just a credibility of the community, and it is the credibility of your influencers who spread the word about you in the market as well, right? And with respect to that, like what you see on screen now is the Z Crew. These set of influencers have been with us since our inception. A culmination of upcoming influencers as well as some really big macro influencers that are out there. These guys have been a part of our family since sort of day one. And they are, I mean, quote unquote, they're literally a brand ambassadors. But these people literally believe in the brand, and we believe in them as well, because ZALORA truly believes that you create awareness when you believe in the brand and you live the brand. And that's the aspect with Z Crew. If we could move on to the next slide, Chris, right? Just calling out some of the big KOLs that we have, and you can actually see that some of them have great following in the region, and if you've ever been on social media, I'm sure you've stumbled about all of these guys, and them stumbled definitely on these guys and them talking about ZALORA as well, right? So some of these guys that work with us and are a family, and someone who help us literally authenticate and relate to our customers as well as to our brand. I think there's another interesting case study that I would like to talk about over here. It was that we did these 2 covers in Philippines with a very famous celebrity. And going back to your original slide, Chris, where we showed some numbers, just sharing some quick numbers over here. Just a known person on her face endorsing a product that she believed in showed us such great results, right? You literally saw 240% uplift in the product that she believed in, and something that she was something that she could push to her audience without being too much in your face. So this is a prime example of how these influencers help the community and help the brand as well. So it is, I think the 3 keywords that are very, very critical over here are relatability, authenticity, and a conversation that you have with your brands and your following every day. Just another example, these 2 famous covers that we did, just to give you an example. And I think growing with that, right, if we move on to the next slide, growing with this whole concept of the influencer marketing is the community influencer program, right? Wherein it is not just a certain set of people can be influencing. It is everybody can be an influencer, right? You can be an influencer, I can be an influencer, because we all have our own following, we all have our own style, we all have our community. And that's where ZALORA community program took inception, that more and more people And I think also with COVID, staying home, you're on the digital always, you're practically on different platforms, right? New platforms are launching. And hence with that, I think this is where community program comes into play, wherein everybody can be an influencer. All you just need to do is sign up, and that's it. You're also an influencer for us, just like any other influencer, and you grow the brand and grow the following. And that's how everybody, that's how we serve the community, let's say.
That's really interesting. But quite curious is, Daniel was asking this, and probably a lot of marketers out there. Do you think that consumers are becoming cynical of influencers because it looks so branded? How much in your face is too much in your face?
I wouldn't think so, right? Which is that it is about how much what type and how do you talk to your consumers. A blatant advertising is always too much in your face. But when there is a communication that is happening, when there is a integration, right? When you believe in this person, these are your friends. Just like you will watch out for your friends, you watch out for these influencers. So when they talk in their daily lives about a particular brand or a particular story, you do believe in them, right? In a way, let's say when you go to a retail shop, you ask one of the people out there, how's it looking, right? Or so you always take opinion, and these guys are out there to give you an opinion. So the key is what kind of content and how it is integrated literally daily. And I think that's what even Diogo hinted in the beginning as well, right? If it's a blatant mass, yes, can be cynical. But if it's a part of your life, I think it's fun to watch, and it's fun to have a conversation with them.
Yeah, I totally hear you, because we're seeing a lot of brands being very intentional now to find and grow that relationship, so that when I post something of me wearing a ZALORA shirt, people know I love ZALORA. It's not because I'm paid for a program by ZALORA alone, but because I do love it, and I do have a passion for fashion and all, which is more and more what we see today with brands coming to us about, we want gamers because their brand resonates with gamers. They want to reach out and build a relationship with gamers, and moving away from a one-time campaign to developing a long-term relationship. And the same way on the right-hand side, a group of KOLs who loves fast food. So who better to talk about fast food than people who actually regularly eat and post about fast food? There is authenticity, and that's the authenticity that we are all looking for. Which brings us to the first.
I think just to add there, right? It is why some of these tribes are created. You have your famous food bloggers, you have your gaming bloggers. All of these communicators took inception from these thoughts, because these guys are experts, and you believe in probably what they are telling you. So if they say it's good, you wouldn't always say it's good, but you would definitely try, and then you experience it for yourself for sure. But at least that step, that hindrance, they help you remove that hindrance.
And when you actually do a social brief or a campaign brief to tell them about the content they're going to create, they're going to be excited about it. It's not like asking a fast food lover to post about something totally unrelated to them, right?
And answering to the question that you said, cynical, right? The best way to it is that let the influencer work, because they know their audience much better than you. You just have to give some key takeaways. But when you start dictating briefs, you're in trouble, because you don't know the audience that they interact with daily, right? They understand it much better than any of us.
That was the only thing that I wanted to say, is if the content is bad, right, and the influencer is not really adjusted to the type of content that you want to transmit to the community, then there's cynicism, because it feels inauthentic. So you're not following the list of things that you want to make sure that your influencers are fighting for your brand.
Love that. And that brings me to the first key takeaway. Social conversations demands for greater authenticity today. There's even this term that was coined recently called anti-inspirational, because people just really, they are beyond just, oh, that's a very nice, pretty influencer, I want to be like him or her. But they're really about authenticity and being very close to the brand and the influencer, hence causing the resonance that we're all looking for as a brand. Bringing me to this next question then, why do you think this is happening? I mean, why do you think marketers are shifting its demand into more depth in conversations, more authenticity? What has changed? Neha?
I guess I wouldn't say what has changed, but I would say what has evolved. And what has really evolved is that some of these channels give you they bring you a lot more closer to your customers, right? You're able to have a conversation literally with your customers. You put in traditional media, which definitely still works, but this channel brings you a step closer to your customers. I think the other thing is that there are so many channels that have come in, right? You have TikTok, you have Clubhouse, you have your Instagram, and all of these have different kind of audiences and different kind of communities that is building. And hence, I think it's sort of growing in terms of you're able to reach different type of people and different types of audiences. Again, going back to the same point, right? The need for influencer marketing is a lot more eminent than before. Again, it is social commerce has just further I think it brings a more solid confirmation day by day, wherein you're able to sort of integrate brands and create that authenticity. So, and I think with growing that stream is one of the streams that we also truly believed in and were able to sort of offer to our consumers was ZLive that you see on screen, right? That's a live streaming platform, which is wherein we use the portal to talk to our consumers. So you will have KOLs, you will have brands, you will have there's so much that's going on this platform. There's constant interaction that's going on with the platform, which is you have a lot. It is no longer about just the just calling out the key sort of takeaways that you always have, and more about conversation and more about showing the brand in its most authentic way, right? So that's where ZLive comes into play. And I think largely just the more communities you're able to sort of drive, the more communities you're able to sort of communicate with, we will continue evolving in this space for sure.
Yeah, it's like your brand becomes the center of a community center, so to speak. It's regardless of the platforms you're in, you bring all the people together, isn't it? How about you, Diogo? What do you think?
I completely agree, but what I see further is a different way of seeing how the representation of the content on social has changed from just being human to being more humane, to being more inclusive, to being easier to spread that positivity, the things that you need to make sure that your mental well-being is being taken care of on social media from everyone that is making said content. The main key aspect is that, this is a behavior study on how marketers are starting to shift the way that they see the content on social media, where the majority of said marketers are trying to look at content as the things that people do, the things that people are, the things that people create on social media, and how that impacts what you want to see and how you want to consume. So different parts of that spectrum and different ways on how that behavior is included in the content is what then makes the influencer become valuable to your stream. It's what makes the message become important to how you transmit that necessity of defending the brand. But more than anything, it's what makes people understand that the corporations, the brands, the people that are working at the corporations and the brands are actual people. So we are talking to individuals, we are talking to influencers, and a lot of that cynicism is that a lot of times it looks so manufactured that you then think, oh, this is not a person, this is a campaign brief, and there's nothing that I can do with this influencer that even makes sure that my lipstick is going well or that my clothes fit me well. So when you start that conversation from the two sides, it's when you start to see that inclusive messaging, the knowledgeable creators that are making messages that are impactful to what you want to consume. I think there was something else in the next one. So that messaging becomes a positive feedback loop. I know that on social media, everyone thinks that the machine is fighting against them and that, oh, I posted something and I didn't have enough likes, I didn't have enough interactions. But the thinking is, it's because you're not working towards making the community respond back to what you want to be producing that makes them have fun talking to you, want to have that conversation with you. So for every action and amplification of said action, you want that reaction to be the positive feedback that you do. So brands, by working with influencers, what they're making sure is literally just making that immediate message something that is captured on a daily basis, and then it becomes your BAU. You make sure that you have a constant conversation, because like with any friend, like with any family member, you have a direct relationship with them and you talk with them on a daily basis. So if you want to maintain that relationship, a brand or an influencer needs to make sure that they're incorporating the same type of techniques and the same type of social behavior that any normal person would have, right? So it's that shift between the human to being a humane messaging. It's that shift between being just peripheral messaging to being inclusive and authentic. And that is extremely important for what we're doing. And since the majority of the people on the chat are adopters of influencer marketing, it is always something that you need to keep in the back of your head when you strategize the relationship that you want with your influencers.
I mean, really a very, very good point made, Diogo, right? It is about like interaction. Brands come into play selectively, right? Today, some brand, it's some other day, some brand, some other day, some brand in these communities. It's really the core, these people and what they do daily with their audiences and what they do really with their content is very, very important, right? Because it is how interactive are they with their conversations and how they have built the trust over time. Because if it's always going to be about just brand selling, you may tend to get into a difficult space. But how it is integrated into your conversations without causing disruption in any way is really the key, right? And I really love this, Diogo, like opinion-driven content, daily interactions, literally authentic voices. I think it's all in this one slide that we really see over here.
Yeah, one of the questions that our attendees was asking was, yes, we drive all these social conversations, we build all these communities, but what if a member of this influencer community that you build is, well, get into a controversy or a scandal? What would you as a brand do would you shy away, which is what a lot of brands tend to do nowadays? They will cancel the influencer. Or what do you think, Diogo? I'm sure you have experienced some of this before.
It's again controversial. Controversial behavior. It is at the end. It depends on case-to-case basis, right? There isn't a template to this right now. We are all evolving. The space is growing. So it's not like a Tupperware party where you had a problem. Okay, cancel the license. Okay, next person can take it on. We're sort of growing in this space completely, right? So it really depends on what the situation is, what sort of at that point of time, what's the controversial behavior we are talking about. But I think what are some of the good things to keep in mind is when you're working with these influencers, it's always good to have your do's and don'ts. It's always good to have your certain principles in place, and some of the things that before you start working with any of them. So and also know that, right? it's in the interest of the influencer as well. They also, it is a space where they are growing and they are earning as well. So we're really yet to come across some of these, but I guess if our back work is good, I truly feel we can avoid some of these for sure.
Diogo, any thoughts?
So we have at Bloomr now over 100 content creators, and we work with more than 200 in the industry on a regular basis. So unfortunately, we see these crises happen fairly regularly. And what I think the immediate response from the majority of brands is to shoot the trigger without having had the conversation prior with the creators or the influencers, knowing if some problem might happen, what would be the form of action. So that exactly to Neha's point, you need to have that in place. You need to have a crisis response protocol with the influencers that you are working with. But I think a point that most people tend to forget about these situations, even though the schadenfreude of all of it, we see people fail and it's amazing, and everyone likes the drama on social media, we tend to forget that the person on the other side of the screen is also human. So even though we might criticize them, we might say, we might be cynical about it, we might say that they are useless to society and everything, they're just human. So how about giving some empathy to the person on the other side? They're going through it, try to understand that they're going through it. If then they are destroying your brand specifically, then there's a conversation that you need to have, both legally and in terms of marketing. But if there isn't, a brand should understand that they banked on a personality, they banked on a person. So all people are fallible. So you need to understand where those fallibilities are and how you can actually manage that conversation. If someone completely destroys your brand because of the relationship, nothing else you can do. But if there is a relationship, a long-term relationship, something that has been built, and all of a sudden, just because someone said something stupid, oh, I'm canceling your contract, there's nothing that you can defend in that regard, then it goes back to, then no one is human. No one has said anything bad ever. No, like when you were a teenager, you were probably a perfect person, a perfect influencer. And now all of a sudden you are God on earth and everyone loves what you do. That doesn't make any sense to me. So there needs to be some measured reality in these conversations.
And I think exactly right. Why would suddenly someone come and disrupt your band? Like there's got to be, there will be somewhere something that you could have foreseen or you could have avoided, right? So it's, yeah, you if you've got the right things in place, we're very sure that this is something that can be completely avoided.
Yeah, and in many ways, how a brand deals with such an issue, such an incident, can potentially become a brand building opportunity.
Yeah, any publicity is good publicity. Yeah, sure.
And it's really a time for a brand to really demonstrate that it's not just a logo, but it's actually human, it's actually humane, absolutely. And it has empathy as well, as long as the values resonate. And like in building any community, there will be people with issues, and it's a journey.
And I think the last 2 years have really sort of brought that out in everyone, right? It's been a testament to the times, and hence it's how human you are for sure. So absolutely.
Yeah, which brings me to the point which I think someone was asking through, Cherry was asking, right? Cherry was asking online. I mean, how do you then find the right influences that resonates, that you want to build a relationship? And what I love is that technology has really enabled us to do this. These are just some screenshots from Mediacorp SocialHub, where you could actually filter based on the interest of influencers, as well as their followers. You can go into the demographic information, how their posts have been doing. So with social listening and technologies, you can even go deeper into the point of, is there are there authentic followers? Who are the brands that these followers actually engage with? So technology has enabled us to actually find the right people to build this community with, in a sense, and grow a long-term relationship, which brings me to the second takeaway, which is how we can use technology today, build all the infrastructures we talked about to understand our consumers for brand alignment and building this community. So we've talked a lot about all these brand community challenges that brands face, and I'm thankful for all the questions that come in so far, so keep them coming. Love to ask the audience today again, what are some of the challenges you face as a marketer or brand? Is it finding the right influencer with data? How about measuring performance? Everybody is about KPIs. How do you measure them? How do you find them? How about setting up the BAU systems, scaling up the performance? Love to hear from you. And actually, Neha and Diogo, while we're waiting for everyone to give us the answers, I'm sure you have faced some challenges yourself, hasn't it? Diogo?
Finding influencers is a daily challenge for me. So.
and hence we say everybody can become an influencer and be the community influencer programs. So yeah.
That's why, Diogo, you're not just finding them, you're actually grooming them and growing this whole network of content creators today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a national challenge to make that next generation of great content creators, something that Mediacorp and Bloomr specifically has taken the mantle for the next 10 years.
Yeah, sometimes you really think, what next? What's going to happen next? Like, where are we going to go? Yeah.
All right, the answers seems like we have a mixed bag here, but what stands out are measurement of performance, finding the right influencer, like Diogo said, and having a sustainable social media strategy among all the other challenges that we find. And actually, building on what you just said earlier on, finding the right influencers, finding the right platforms. I mean, Diogo probably are quite experienced in doing that, isn't it?
Yeah, so the majority of my time is spent on trying to create that mental map that most strategies implement for social and for influencer marketing across Mediacorp and across our clients. And it's always based out of the principles that everything you do needs to have a murmur on social. So you are always listening for that murmur. So you incorporate social listening into every step of what you're doing. So then the strategies that you put forward are always dependent on this single map that you put in what you do. That is, you need to first identify the people that you want to talk to, your customer. And a lot of marketers don't even know who they're talking to on their social media accounts, which is surprising. So that's the first conversation that we have with our clients. It is, what is that audience at? What are they doing? Where are they specifically talking to other people? And how can you incorporate that execution in your social strategy? How do you build the KPIs to get what you need? How do you measure those KPIs? How do you make sure that the influencer is defending the same USPs that you've put forward for your brand and for that campaign? And one of the big things, not just by using the SocialHub, but by having the experience across what Mediacorp does, and ZALORA does it as well on a regular basis, is that when you identify those collaborators, you start to figure out these reflexes that they have that you want to use in how you incorporate them into your strategy. It is, how do their values align to your brand? It is, how does their community build on top of your messaging? Is, how do they align specifically on the feedback loops that we mentioned to your brand and to the campaigns that you have in the future? And I think most importantly, at least for us from our side, is when there is a response from the market, when there's a response from the audience, that you capture that information that you're listening to, and then it basically builds on top of your messaging for the next campaign. So you can act on those insights. You can build on that influencer campaign, and then you make sure that you're not just hiring an influencer for a single spot. You're building that community alongside them. You're building that conversation along everything that you need to do and want to do with them, just for that messaging.
Actually, it'll be interesting how you talk about finding the right influencers, building the iterative loop, the feedback loop, and growing that relationship. One of the questions that people have been asking is, how do you even check for moral values and integrity? It's like social data don't actually give you that.
I think Neha can take it after, but the simplest, how do you make friends? You talk to people. You actually have a relationship with them. Get on a call, talk to a person. It's not just, oh, they make pretty pictures, then I can hire them. No, you need to understand if, like you said, if it's a human on the other side. So if you're not even willing to work, to talk to your collaborators, to have that human experience of building that relationship, then what are you actually doing as a marketer?
Absolutely. Neha, what's your thoughts about that? Does ZALORA check on your moral values?
Always. I think we strongly believe in positive change makers in the industry, right? Some of the people that we work with are very, very vocal in their fields, across social fields, right? I think Diogo hit it right there, right? How do you make friends? That's the same way you are going to build this community. People who believe in you and you believe in them, people who talk a similar language like you, or a close language as how you would like to talk to them. It is a relationship at the end of the day. It's not a business proposition, right? We tag the business proposition is secondary, but it's your relationship that you're building with them. So absolutely, moral values, positivity, people who really believe in all the social causes. I think I'm sure you would have come across, like we strongly believe in sustainability. That's a very, very big thing for us, right? And as an organization, it's one of the key objectives that we want to drive. And hence, I think this question really, yeah, absolutely. Nothing which moral values are all that we all believe in and should strongly recommend as well.
And one thought that just came to mind is, as I listen to everyone, it's like very often brands think like, let me find the community I want, let me hire them. It's like bringing the community to us. But what we've been talking about, being humane, building communities, very often it's a brand entering into a community, going in and be a neighbor, going in to understand what's this neighborhood about, and being part of the conversation in this neighborhood, and building that community and relationship that a brand has with them. One of the other questions that came to mind, I mean, talking about challenges and stuff, is how do we actually scale up our campaigns beyond just social media? And Neha, I remember you have done something called Style Me Now.
Yes, absolutely. See, I think one of the key points over here, Chris, is that I think Diogo beautifully captured in this slide. I think I'll just make another addition to that is it's also there's a soft aspect on the type of content that you will create as well, right? Because at the end, you have all your checklist in place, but those are all back-end functions. You've got the right influencer, you've got the right audience, you've done your targeting. What will come in the front is the person and the content that you will be watching. These are all system things that we are putting in place, and very, very important to place, because it goes in line with your troubleshooting and your performance poll that you did, right? So you have your links that you can plug in that give you an easy way to track your performance. All of these things that are readily available out there that all influencers and brands can use. And hence, the key is what type of content is being created, and how the customer is really engaging with that content. And that's something that you have to constantly evolve and work with your influencers on. It's a growing phase. There are so many different types of ways. Every day we have new filters coming in, new reels coming in, new formats coming in, and you have to keep experimenting, keep being innovative, and keep growing this space, right? So, and I think all of us love drama, right? So keep trying, keep innovating. Why not? Because that's what catches the eyeballs at the end of the day. That's where I think virality came into life as well. The more fun you're having, the more out there you have. Please be again a star over here. Too much in your face. the more eyeballs you garner, definitely, right? And going to definitely the Style Me Now, which is exactly what we did with that proposition, where it was a very, very fun TV show that we did, centered around this entire activation, where the influencers were right in the audience. So they were the people who were driving it, and they were speaking to the community there and then, face to face, for everyone to watch. And how the audience was so, I mean, in a way, these guys are celebrities, right? So the audience is right out there. Your influencer is right out there. What better way to have a conversation than this? And I guess, if you could go to the next slide, right? They're there. The numbers are there to sort of really speak for themselves. What happens when you bring the two together? You're for sure, you will constantly learn, definitely learn, but there will always be some positivity that comes out of it. And we had like a massive 10 million impressions coming from this integration that we did, right? I mean, really, I would really argue on, and not argue, I would really emphasize on strong and relatable content, authentic content, and stickable content. Going back to having drama, something which you can always remember, and something which will always remind you of that particular brand.
Love it. In fact, that's exactly what some of the brands have worked with us for. We worked with Samsung. We tapped on our organic communities and brands and content IPs, so that the content we create, whether it's live stream, social post, is something that really resonates with the influencers and resonates with the people who watch it, the communities that they engage with. Which brings me to this third key takeaway, right? Start with a plan, the whole framework that Diogo has talked about. And I really love what, Neha, you said about the content that is relatable, that's stickable, especially today in social media. We want thumb-stopping content.
Yeah.
And don't limit influencer marketing to just a social media campaign. It's so much more than that. And I love the numbers that, Neha, you shared about your event. Was really, really, really good. So last but not least, we're running really short in time. I love the conversations going on. Let's just have some quick words. I mean, Neha and Diogo, what should brands be prepared for in this new norm in the next 12 to 18 months? What should we really get up for? Diogo?
Trying to predict the future. Sure. Actually, I can
That's
address...
how the monkey looks.
Yeah, so I can address some of the questions that the audience has here, specifically on the wave of fatigue on social media, on virtual influencers. So specifically using that word is why I want to address the question, because it is a wave. So with everything that basically goes as a feedback loop, it comes and goes. But when it comes and when it goes, it becomes deeper, it becomes stronger. It becomes a lot more effective in the way that you're working with not just the influencers, but the communities that you are integrating into that content. So I have here a few crazy examples of where the future of marketing is going and where influencers are having a huge influence in. So to the left side, of course, is our Bloomr Accelerator, where we are getting the day-to-day people to create content, to build their own communities, and to prove the fact that anyone can become an influencer in their own right for the content that they produce and the communities that they build. But more on a conceptual basis, so you have NFTs. So the Ape is a Bored Ape, which is now one of the biggest decentralized groups in the world of people, like-minded people, that is completely based out of influencers. And the whole point of that NFT community, the metaverse, it's that you are building the relationships and you're building those communities around not just your personality, but the brands that you're working with the message that you are putting forward. So that depth of message in the next wave is going to be even stronger. That community that is going to be built is going to be even bigger and worldwide. The conversations that you're going to have, because they're live, people understand your fears and your likes and dislikes. they're going to be even more complicated and better for your human relationship. So that integrated messaging and the feedback that is created is just going to increase the quality of the message. So if you're already afraid of talking to people, talking to influencers, and actually have a real conversation, a real relationship with other humans that are trying to address an audience and are trying to address a community, then this is going to be even harder for you in the future. But if you are opening your heart and opening your mentality to collaboration, to working with like-minded people, to having similar values and similar morals, and making sure that you are aligning on the same USP, then this is going to be an even funner experience for the next 12 to 18 months.
Yep. And I think just
drama
to
and fun sounds all comes together quite nicely.
Absolutely. I think it's also there is no one format that works for everyone, right? It's about your goal is you want to speak to as many people. We want to be friends with everyone, right? And hence what finding the right format and finding the right type of content, finding the right type of engagement that you have, like for example, right, earlier, like a Clubhouse engagement versus a TikTok engagement are very, very different. And hence there are different communities, different type of people who are growing in different platforms. So how you really work with all of these brands, how you really get the conversation going is going to be the essence. And it's just stay curious, because it's constantly evolving, it's constantly growing. There are new things that are coming in every day. So as long as you're true to yourself, as long as you're true to the essence that you have, and you are in it for long, I guess everything should work for sure. I mean, I would like to believe everything should work, but yeah, unless there is something else that disrupts us again. But right format, right type of content, right type of community, having a conversation, most critical, having a conversation. Tupperware worked at that point of time because it was just like one conversation and then kept going. It was influencer marketing. Now we've given it a glorified name. And that glorified name comes with certain set of things that you need to do. And those certain set of things are, you need to be in touch with your friends constantly. So that, I guess, new norms are for sure, keep talking, be authentic, let people trust you, and for sure reach the right audience with the right sort of content.
Love it. And thanks, Neha and Diogo. And the thing that I caught most from what Neha you just shared was stay curious. Because if you want to work with influencers, you want to work with human beings, you need to know there will be interesting things that always happens, the drama that we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we would like to create drama as well.
And staying curious is actually what brought us here today. Really, the summary of all the things we talked about is how we can use technology to understand your communities, your own values even, and structure influencer marketing to your BAU. This will enable you to drive social conversations that's demanding greater authenticity today. Not just an inspiration, but a sustained community conversation. And this then creates your brand conversations that should land even beyond just social media. Because influencer marketing isn't just social media. Influencer marketing is about the personalities. The time now is 11 o'clock. I know there are other questions that we would love to address, but a lot of what we talked about today centers around building digital communities. Interestingly enough, I mean, you saw the slide, it seems as if staged, but when we were just having the conversations preparing for this, it just talks a lot about building digital communities. Hence, in our next Executive Insight that's happening on the 24th of November, we'll be having Ling Yi, who is a creator herself and a founder of 01 Studio, to come and talk to us about what it means to build digital communities, how to address challenges like cancel culture, and our languages challenge today even. And we'll also have Hidayah, a social media manager here at Bloomr.SG Mediacorp, to help us understand how we can develop this two-way conversation with our audience and well, really just see a success to your brands.
Oh,
So
wow.
with that,
It's a very interesting conversation for sure.
yeah, you got to sign up now, and you can enjoy being the participant. Yeah, so sign up by scanning the QR code over here and register. And with that, it's right on the dot, 11 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Diogo. Really enjoyed talking to both of you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, Diogo. A really, really fun conversation. And I hope we all take away something from this as we grow in this space of influencer marketing. And at least, if not anything, the Tupperware stays with me. That was that was the best part about all of this for sure.
Brings back memories, doesn't it?
I have drawers full of them in my house.
You must have bought a lot of takeaway food lately.
Influence
All
of
right,
my
thanks.
mother. For sure.
Aunties were able to convince him a lot.